All right, so you're ready to level up your skills as an estimator, right? I mean, who wouldn't be? Today, we're diving deep into something that's way more important than you might think at first glance.
Hmm.
Project meetings.
Yeah, for a Gold Seal certified estimator being part of these meetings, it's not just about showing up.
Right.
It's about using your knowledge and your expertise to make sure the project stays on track.
Yeah, and we're going to unlock all those secrets hidden within the Gold Seal training series for estimators,
Hmm.
specifically the communicate clearly and ethically section within the related skills competency.
Okay.
It's almost like a cheat sheet
Oh, yeah.
for navigating those sometimes kind of intense meetings and making sure your expertise shines through.
Yeah, one thing that I think often gets overlooked is just how important an estimator's role is in bridging all the communication gaps between the different stakeholders.
Right.
You've got owners with their vision, you've got contractors with their execution plans, you've got subcontractors with their specialized skills,
Yeah.
and it's the estimator who makes sure that everyone's speaking the same language when it comes to like the budget and the execution.
But if things go sideways in these meetings, the consequences can be pretty bad.
Oh, right.
This
Well,
isn't just a couple bucks over budget.
oh, no, no.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah, we're talking potential cost overruns,
Yeah.
contract disputes that can drag on forever, legal battles even.
Oh, wow.
It's really high stakes.
Yeah.
And the estimator's role in preventing that chaos is really invaluable.
Okay, let's break down these meetings then.
Hmm.
The Gold Seal training material highlights 6 main types:
Okay.
pre-tender meetings, kickoff meetings, progress meetings, value engineering meetings, change order and claims review meetings,
Hmm.
and project closeout meetings.
Yeah,
They each have a very distinct purpose and feel, wouldn't you say?
definitely. And, the estimator needs to adapt their approach depending on what kind of meeting they're in.
Hmm.
So, for instance, in a pre-tender meeting,
Yeah.
it's not enough to just like crunch numbers in isolation. A really savvy estimator is going to dig deeper,
Hmm.
proactively trying to identify what we call scope gaps.
Scope gaps.
Yeah, these are those little sneaky details that
Yeah.
can balloon into budgetary nightmares later on if you're not careful.
Now, hold on a sec. For our listeners who might be new to this whole thing,
Uh,
can you explain, like, what is a scope gap and give us a real-world example?
sure. So basically, a scope gap is like a discrepancy
Okay.
between what's outlined in the project plans
Yeah.
and then like the actual work required.
Okay.
So let's say you're bidding on a renovation project
Right.
and the plans say install new flooring.
Hmm.
But then you go to the pre-tender meeting and you notice that the existing subfloor needs a lot of repairs. That
What?
wasn't specifically mentioned in the scope of work,
Uh-oh.
but it's a cost that you can't just ignore.
Right.
So by addressing that potential gap really early on, it prevents any major surprises down the road
Gotcha.
and keeps the bidding process honest and transparent.
Okay, so it's kind of like those hidden gotchas in a contract.
That can really come back to bite you later.
Hmm.
So once those bids are in the projects, now we move into the kickoff meeting, right?
Exactly.
What happens there?
So in a kickoff meeting, the estimator primacy kind of becomes the voice of financial reason.
Okay.
They're making sure that everyone's on the same page when it comes to the budget constraints,
Right.
any potential risks,
Hmm.
kind of setting the financial ground rules for the entire project.
So you're not just assuming everyone understands the budget.
No.
You're proactively pointing out things that could trip people up later.
Right, exactly.
What kind of gotchas are we talking about here?
Well, let's say there's a project that relies a lot on some very specific imported materials.
Okay.
During the kickoff meeting, an estimator who really knows what they're doing would point out the potential risks of things like the exchange rate changing
Yeah.
or supply chain disruptions,
Oh, yeah.
things that could affect the final cost.
Yeah.
So it's all about anticipating those curveballs
Yeah.
and having a plan to deal with them. Okay, so we've set the stage, the project's moving forward. Now we're in the thick of things with progress meetings.
Hmm.
What's the estimator doing during those?
So progress meetings are all about making sure that the project is staying financially healthy.
Okay.
So the estimator's job is to carefully monitor the spending, to quickly identify any cost overruns that might be popping up,
Yeah.
and to make sure that any changes are properly documented and priced.
Okay.
So it's like a financial checkup
Right.
to make sure the project is not veering off course.
With all the moving parts in a construction project, how does an estimator actually track that progress and spot those potential overruns?
Well, it's about going beyond the surface level progress reports.
Okay.
A skilled estimator is going to really dig into the labor costs, the material expenses,
Hmm.
and compare those against the original budget and schedule.
Okay.
They're looking for trends.
Okay.
Like, for example, if labor costs are consistently higher than projected, it might mean that there are inefficiencies on site that need to be addressed.
Right.
They're also really carefully analyzing the change orders,
Okay.
making sure that they're legitimate
Hmm.
and that they're priced fairly, not just rubber stamped.
So it's really like being a detective,
Exactly.
analyzing the data to see if the project is truly on track.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, value engineering meetings, those sound a bit more creative,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's going on there?
This is where an estimator's ingenuity can really shine.
Okay.
Value engineering sessions are all about brainstorming different ways to save money
Okay.
without having to sacrifice the quality or the functionality of the project.
Mm-hmm.
So this might mean suggesting like alternative materials
Okay.
or maybe a more efficient construction method
Yeah.
or even tweaking the design a little bit to optimize the costs.
So before going into a value engineering meeting, how would a really good estimator prepare to come to the table with these ideas?
One really good tactic is to review past projects and see if there were any like successful cost-saving substitutions or design modifications.
Mm-hmm.
Having this kind of data makes your suggestions a lot stronger.
Makes sense.
You could also do some research into any new materials or new technologies that have come out
Yep.
that could offer a cost advantage without sacrificing quality.
Okay.
So, being armed with all this information makes you a much more valuable contributor to that value engineering process.
Very cool. Okay. So let's be honest. Sometimes things just go wrong in projects.
Yeah, it happens.
Disputes happen, and that's where the change order and claims review meetings come in.
Precisely. And this is where an estimator's deep knowledge of those CCDC contracts
Yeah.
becomes absolutely crucial.
Okay.
They need to be like the guardian of the contract,
Right.
especially when it comes to those tricky little clauses that deal with cost adjustments.
Mhm.
We're talking specifically about CCDC2, the stipulated price contract,
Okay.
and CCDC4, the unit price contract.
Before we go into those specific contracts,
Yeah.
can you just give us a really quick overview of why those are so important to estimators,
Yeah.
especially during these, potentially kind of contentious meetings?
Well, CCDC2 and CCDC4, they basically lay out the ground rules for how you're going to handle cost adjustments,
Yeah.
particularly when it comes to those inevitable change orders and variations in quantities.
Right.
So, understanding these contracts is like having a roadmap for how to navigate through those choppy waters.
Okay.
It's about protecting both the contractor and the owner from any kind of financial surprises and disputes later on.
So knowing those contracts inside and out is like having a secret weapon
Yeah,
in your arsenal.
for sure.
Okay, cool. We'll definitely unpack those further in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah,
But for now, let's wrap up with that final type of meeting,
okay.
the project closeout meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this might sound like just a formality, but I bet there's more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Project closeout is so much more than just signing off on the final numbers.
Okay.
It's a prime opportunity to look back on the project's financial performance, learn from any bumps in the road,
Yeah.
and refine your estimating skills for future projects.
So it's a valuable learning experience.
Yeah, for sure.
But how can estimators make the most of these project closeout meetings?
Well, it's a great chance to compare the initial estimates with the final costs.
Okay.
Analyze any variances.
Yeah.
Pinpoint the areas where your estimates were spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a little bit off.
Yeah.
Like, did certain materials cost more than anticipated?
Right.
Were there labor overruns in specific areas?
Oh.
This kind of deep dive into the data
Yeah.
allows you to really refine your estimating methods and become even sharper for the next project.
So the project closeout meeting is kind of like the final exam.
Exactly.
It's a chance to see what you aced and where you might need some extra credit next time.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
Okay, cool. So this has been a really insightful overview, I think,
Yeah.
of the different types of project meetings and how an estimator's role changes throughout the project lifecycle.
Yep.
But we've only just scratched the surface here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
There's so much more to dive into.
Okay, cool. So in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to go deeper into those critical CCDC contracts.
Yeah.
We'll explore how they affect an estimator's decision-making during these really crucial meetings.
Looking forward to it.
All right, so make sure you stick around for part 2, where we really get into the nitty-gritty of those contracts
Yeah.
and learn how to use them like a pro.
That's right. Welcome back to our deep dive into mastering project meetings for Gold Seal estimators.
We're ready to dig into those CCDC contracts.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
these contracts, they're really the foundation of construction projects here in Canada.
Yeah.
And for estimators, having that deep understanding, especially when it comes to cost management,
Right.
that's non-negotiable.
Yeah, you specifically mentioned CCDC2 and CCDC4 earlier.
I
Let's break those down a little bit.
It's okay.
Why are they so crucial for estimators?
So CCDC2, which is the stipulated price contract,
Okay.
and CCDC4, the unit price contract.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two most common forms used in Canadian construction.
Right.
They provide this really clear framework for how you're going to manage costs.
Yeah.
Especially when you have changes come up. And let's face it,
Oh, yeah.
changes are pretty much a guarantee in this industry.
Totally. So let's say a change order pops up mid-project.
Okay.
How do these contracts specifically affect what the estimator has to do?
All right, so let's start with CCDC2.
Okay.
So under this contract, any changes to the original scope of work, you
Yeah.
need to really meticulously document those changes
Okay.
and fully justify the cost adjustments before that change order is even issued.
Okay.
So the estimator plays a really key role in that process.
Yeah.
It's about protecting the contractor from undercharging for that extra work and also protecting the owner from, unexpected cost increases.
So being detail-oriented is really important here.
Absolutely. I dotted every T crossed.
Yeah.
When it comes to those cost changes and that clear communication between the project manager and the owner.
Yeah.
That's super important.
Okay, cool. So now to CCDC4, things get a little bit more, I guess, dynamic.
Yeah, a bit more fluid for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned those quantity variations
Right.
earlier. Those are the fluctuations in materials or labor that can happen throughout the project.
Yep. And so under CCDC4, the estimator's job is to really keep a close eye on those quantities.
Okay.
So if there's a variance from the original estimate, say, you need to excavate a lot more than you initially planned.
Yeah.
The contract has these really clear rules for how you're going to price those changes
Okay.
and how the overall contract price is going to be adjusted.
Right.
So the estimator needs to be on top of those cost fluctuations in real time to protect the contractor's bottom line.
It sounds like being fluent in the language of these contracts
It's essential.
can really make or break a project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you give us an example of what could go wrong
Sure.
if an estimator doesn't fully understand all the little details?
Yeah, so let's imagine a project and it hits a snag
Okay.
due to some unforeseen ground conditions.
Okay.
So let's say the soil is a lot rockier than everyone expected. It requires additional excavation, more foundation work.
Right.
Now, if the estimator hasn't really carefully reviewed the CCDC contract clauses that deal with those unforeseen site conditions,
Right.
particularly Clause 11.2 in CCDC2,
Okay.
the contractor might end up having to pay for all those extra costs
Oh, wow.
out of their own pocket,
Ouch.
which really eats into their profit margin.
Yeah. That's a tough lesson to learn.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
really shows how those little details in the contract can have a big impact.
Huge financial repercussions.
Yeah, okay, so we've established that mastering these meeting skills and being really comfortable with these CCDC contracts is super important for any Gold Seal estimator.
It's essential. Yeah.
But let's zoom out a little bit.
Yeah.
How does this all play out in the Canadian construction industry as a whole?
Right. Well, in Canada, construction projects are often pretty complex. You've got multiple stakeholders involved, different levels of government, private developers.
Right.
So, effective communication and a really solid grasp on those contractual obligations.
Yeah.
Those are absolutely paramount in this kind of environment.
So how do these skills specifically give Gold Seal certified estimators a leg up in this industry?
Well, by really mastering these meeting skills and having that deep understanding of the CCDC contracts, Gold Seal estimators, they bring a ton of value to any project.
Okay.
So they can validate budgets right from the get-go, make sure that those cost estimates are realistic. And that really minimizes the chance of those dreaded cost overruns.
So they're kind of acting as the financial guardians of the project.
Exactly.
I'm sure everything starts on the right foot.
Yep. It's all about foresight, not just hindsight.
I like that. And because they're such good communicators and collaborators, they can often spot those sneaky scope gaps early on.
Right back in those pre-tender meetings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By catching those potential issues before they become real problems, they can prevent a lot of costly disputes and legal battles later on.
Huge savings there.
So it's being proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. Anticipating problems before they even arise.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah, for sure.
And it goes beyond just preventing problems, too.
That's right.
These estimators are really valuable partners to the project managers.
Absolutely.
They provide those key financial insights all throughout the project.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just number crunching.
No.
They're strategic advisors
Exactly.
who help guide the project towards success.
Yep, make sure it stays on budget and meets the deadlines.
So they're a respected member of the team,
Absolutely.
bringing that expertise and insight to help the project overall.
For sure.
And of course, we can't forget about the ethical piece of this.
Right.
By really, adhering to the highest standards of honesty and transparency,
Mm-hmm.
these Gold Seal certified estimators, they build trust and credibility
Yep.
within the industry.
Huge.
And in a field where reputation is everything,
Yeah.
that's a major asset.
Absolutely.
So it's a win-win.
Right.
They advance their careers by becoming really sought-after professionals.
Mm-hmm.
And the industry as a whole benefits from that expertise and ethical conduct.
Exactly.
It's about contributing to a culture of excellence in the industry.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So mastering those meeting skills and CCDC contracts is really about, becoming that well-rounded and effective construction professional.
For sure.
Someone who can navigate the complexities of the Canadian industry with confidence and integrity.
That's right.
It's about leveling up your career in a big way.
Absolutely.
But hold on, folks.
What's next?
We're not done yet.
Okay.
In the final part of our deep dive,
Sorry.
we're going to distill everything we've learned
Mm-hmm.
into some key takeaways.
Okay.
And we'll leave you with a thought-provoking question to ponder.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned for part 3. All right, welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into project meetings for Gold Seal estimators.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We've explored those different meeting types.
Mm-hmm.
We've really dug into those CCDC contracts,
Yeah.
and we uncovered some of those best practices that really set those top estimators apart.
Right.
But before we wrap up,
Okay.
I really want to kind of crystallize everything we've learned.
Yeah.
What are those key takeaways that you want our listeners to walk away with today?
Well, I think the first takeaway is that actively participating in these meetings,
Right.
it's not just about being there. It's about strategically using your expertise to really contribute to the success of the project.
Right.
It's about being a leader, not a passenger.
So don't just blend into the background.
Yeah.
Be a vocal advocate for the budget, for the project's overall financial health.
Exactly. And to do that effectively,
Mm-hmm.
you really need to become fluent in those CCDC contracts.
Yeah.
Especially CCDC 2 and CCDC 4.
Right.
They're your roadmap
Definitely.
for navigating all the complexities of cost adjustments, change orders, and quantity variations.
Those contracts can seem pretty intimidating at first,
They can.
but mastering them really does give you a huge advantage.
For sure, and never underestimate the power of preparation
Yeah.
before you even step foot in that meeting room.
Okay.
Arm yourself with the knowledge and the insights you need to make smart decisions.
Right.
So analyze those cost reports,
Mm-hmm.
know those contract clauses inside and out,
Yeah.
and come ready to actually contribute meaningful solutions.
So do your homework. Come prepared to impress.
Exactly.
Now, when it's your turn to speak,
Mm-hmm.
remember clear, concise,
Right.
ethical communication is key.
Yep. Honesty and transparency are essential.
Yeah.
If you want to build trust and credibility in this industry.
You don't need any jargon.
No.
No fancy footwork.
Nope.
Just solid data and straight talk.
That's it.
And finally, don't shy away from problems.
No, embrace them.
Yeah, be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
Anticipate those challenges.
Yeah.
Always come with solutions, not just complaints.
Right. Be the estimator everyone wants on their team.
Yeah.
The one who can navigate the challenges and find creative solutions.
Yeah, and all within budget.
And within budget, exactly.
By really honing these skills,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're not just advancing your own career.
Right.
You're raising the bar for the entire Canadian construction industry.
That's what it's all about.
Oh.
Contributing to a culture of excellence.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as we wrap up our deep dive into project meetings,
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave you with a challenge.
Okay.
What's one thing you're going to do differently
Yeah.
in your next project meeting based on what we've talked about today?
Good question.
Think about it. Write it down. Commit to putting it into action.
Continuous improvement That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Take these insights and turn them into actual results.
Absolutely. And if you're hungry for more deep dives into the world of construction and project management, hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
We've got a whole lot more insights coming your way. Until next time,
Sounds good.
keep building those skills and keep aiming for that gold seal.
That's right.